Say good evening right now, ladies and gentlemen, to the Football Savant. In advance, I thank your people for allowing you to come on later than you were originally scheduled to join us.
Yeah, we moved some things around, Tony. For you, we made it happen.
I appreciate that very much. You've had a chance to really think about what happened on Saturday, because I know your mind never stops. So give me your elevator speech as to what your take on the game was.
We got outplayed.
Thanks, Jed, for joining us. Appreciate it very much.
We got outplayed. Tony, I thought going in and preached this last week that the body of evidence that Tech had shown defensively was more than compelling. Now, I still don't think they're a top 5 defense, but I am absolutely convinced, and was before the game, that they are a far better defense than they were a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
And they demonstrated more than enough to me in those first 5 games to show that. And now I don't think anybody's going to be, accusing Tech. Well, they haven't played anybody. I mean, we were 5 games into the season and people were still saying that. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so great game plan by Tech. Played to their strengths. 2 veteran safeties. Really took the top off things and shrank the field offensively. And then when you look at the other side of the football, we never really had, when I look at what we had defensively, there was a window of opportunity late in the first quarter, early in the second, and you and I talked about this on the plane. Late in the first quarter, early in the second, we had those consecutive stops. We had the pick, and then we forced them to the 3 and out. Mm-hmm. Well, it was 14-7 at that point. Momentum was still very much hanging in the balance, and we didn't seize the opportunity. Offensively, we sputtered with the turnover and had to punt, and then we took the 3 and out and drove down inside the 20, and that's when we didn't score either. So we failed to score on both those opportunities, and I think had we scored on one of those opportunities, that might change some of how things play out the rest of the game. It's all about cause and effect, because, if you get Tech to start pressing a little bit, thinking, man, we better score every time, or Gino and that offense is everything we thought they'd be today too. So, and that just wasn't the case. It was a great defensive game plan on the part of Tech, and we missed our opportunities with the limited stops we had by our defense in the first half. And as I touched on the broadcast, the part that I had the biggest problem with was about halfway through the second quarter. You felt we had a puncher's chance so long as we had them reduced to one dimension offensively. And if they had to throw every down, you always felt we were going to have a chance. You could tip a ball, you could get a sack, you can get a return, you could have a misfire, whatever the case might be. But as soon as they start gashing you in the run game, and that's what happened about midway through the second quarter, then you know your problems are about to get compounded.
What's your take on the defense?
It's a work in progress, and it's not where it needs to be. Again, there's 8 freshmen, I think, in the 2 deep on Saturday, but it's now to the point, Tony, that 6 games into the season, there are no more freshmen. Those
right.
Freshmen are basically sophomores now. So, and that's what I like about this staff, is they're not making excuses. They're the first to step it up and admit, hey, this has to get better. This has to improve. And it's going to be a combination of a number of things. They tried to address the Will Clark absence by mixing a couple young guys in there. At times that worked, but for the most part it didn't. They tried to get a little creative and from a personnel standpoint, really shuffle some things around a couple times. It's, evidence of effort is what comes down to there. But I think it's a combination of 2 things, Tony. We're struggling defensively, and that's apparent. New staff, new scheme, young kids. But we also have a schedule that is, without question in my mind, the most offensive challenging schedule in the history of the program. The West Virginia program has never faced a schedule with as many dynamic offenses as we're facing right now, and that's going to be true moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the type of game, Tony, that a year ago, I kept thinking of games like, UConn comes to mind. We came out and sputtered in the first half against them. Syracuse, obviously. Even to an extent, Rutgers and Pitt. Those are the types of games that we started slow. We just didn't really show up for the first 2 quarters, and we were in position because we were playing those Big East, old school, chew the clock, move the sticks type offenses. Those teams aren't built to separate from you when you're not playing well. They're not built to explode on you for 3 scores at a time.
Right. They'll
beat you around a little bit, but you'll still be in the game. So a year ago, UConn, we didn't play at all in the first half, and our punishment was a 10-9 score at halftime. So we came out and blasted them in the second half. And I had told people coming into the Big 12, my fear was, look, if we have games like that where we really don't show up for a half, it's not going to be 10-9 at halftime. It's going to be, I said 31-7. I realized it'd be 35-7. I didn't name Texas Tech as the example, but because they're not the only one that can do that. If you don't show up and start fast, you'll be down by 4 touchdowns every time in this league.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that has to be avoided.
Yep, I remember you saying that before the season started. All right, Savant, always good to hear from you. I'm sure you've got a wealth of comprehensive and sticky information on your website.
Well, let's hope so.
TheSignalCaller.com. He's one of America's folk heroes. He's Jed Drenning. Thanks, Jedley.
We'll see you, bud.
See you, man. Take care.